Okay, one more time. One more time. It should be done now, dear family. I am really hoping that this echo nonsense. Okay, one more time. No. One more time. It should be done now, dear family. I am really hoping that this echo nonsense. Okay, one more time. Yes, I don't understand. One, two, one, two, one, two. Microphone testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. How are we doing for sound? Is anybody out there able to give us some feedback as to exactly what's happening with this sound? Because
Is it alright?
is it okay now?
He said it was fine about 7 minutes ago.
It was.
It's okay. Okay.
Yes, it seems like we may have
Alright, okay.
we may have resolved this one. Sister
Yes.
Claudia is here, so maybe
Thank
that's
you.
why it's all going to start
Thank you.
going properly now. Dear family, I've tried to start a couple of times, but I think I really somebody's saying that I'm muted. Am I muted? I don't think I'm muted.
No, that was.
No, I'm not muted.
That was a few minutes.
Okay. Dear family, as I said last week, we were celebrating the birth anniversary of the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we continue in that celebration this week because it is that important to us, but in truth, it's that important to all of us, to humanity, if and when humanity comes into the realization of this fact. I'm saying that, and I want to say that, I know that there are people who will say, well, what's the big deal about this man, and so on and so forth. Because I know, I get the vibe, I understand the way some people think. But you see, I just wanted us to think this evening about the things that we get excited about, the things that we get exercised about as human beings. And just think about it, just think about what it is that's important in life, and who makes things important, who determines what's important, what's special, what's valuable, etc. Is it not men and women? Is it not our fellow human beings? What is it that you know, as opposed to what I know, that you got from some other realm in terms of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, that you didn't get from some man somewhere? Even if we know nothing but stupidness and foolishness, it came from somewhere, it came from someone. It emanates from a place. See, dear family, and so what I'm trying to say is, when we put a value and an importance on a particular individual, that's because that person has had such an impact, made such an impression in the world, that if we fail to value and to recognize their worth and what they mean to us and what they mean to humanity, then that's a failure indeed. That's like us as black people, many of us not really appreciating how important the recording of history is. And that if we don't record our own history, if we don't write it down, if we don't record it and make, a record that is something that can last through and for posterity, that somebody else can come behind us and rewrite that history and tell a story about us that's false and that is non-representative of the facts, non-representative of the reality of who we are as a people. Dear family, those of you who are currently able to chat, please let us know. And if you have a question this evening, on the subject of the importance of a man, okay, on the question of 90 years young, on that issue, please, by all means, put it in the chat and we will attempt to answer it to the best of our ability. Dear family, this is such a crucial time that we're living in. And unfortunately, as I'm looking at this world, I'm looking at us as a people, whether we are here in the UK, in Europe, whether we are on the continent of the mother continent of Africa, whether we're in the Caribbean, the sad reality is that as a people, we are still being exploited. We are still being taken advantage of. We are still in danger of a neo-colonization by people who see our value and our worth, but at the same time, in terms of their behavior towards us, it's all about an undervaluing and disenfranchisement and a lowering of us as a people so that they can literally stay on top of us and take advantage of us. Doesn't matter where we are. This is the reality of the original people on the planet today. And I'm saying all of that to say that this man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is a man who has been born into this time frame, this time period in which we all live, to absolutely interrupt and break up that narrative, break up that scenario which, in the absence of a strong man who is willing to stand up and speak truth to the powerful and call out a satanic mind and challenge them, literally challenge them to war if necessary, to come against that man, that small David, that individual, but who is backed by a power greater and more mighty than anything that formidable enemy may have in his arsenal or at his disposal. So I'm saying that we're living in a time where there is a man who is challenging these forces. There is a man who has given us a very clear, clarion call to action, a very clear set of guidance toward our own growth and development, our own self-improvement, in order for us to be able to establish for ourselves our own reality in our own world. Okay? And it's up to us. He's not for 1 second trying to force anything on anybody. One of the things that he says, and you can call it a mantra if you like, is take it or leave it alone. Take it or leave it alone. This is the choice that we have when it comes to receiving guidance. Dear family, before I go on, I just want to Sister Claudia is here now, so did you want to say anything, dear sister? No, just...
I don't know if they'll be able to hear me.
No, they can hear you.
Assalamu alaikum family, I pray that you are all safe and well. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Image and Nation show. Sorry, I'm a bit quiet today. You know, you've just come in, sitting in traffic.
Are you going to come on camera now, so that they can all see?
I'm dressed for the road.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I'm dressed for the road. So, yeah, I would say Minister Louis Farrakhan, as I said a few weeks ago, is my absolute saviour. I don't know what I would do if I hadn't been introduced to the teachings of the Most Honourable Elijah Muhammad. Minister Farrakhan always encourages us to choose life. And he's come with an alternative life that is for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. Even you're finding white people now are following.
They're bearing witness, aren't they?
They're bearing witness to the
So
minister.
many of them.
Yeah, they're absolutely seeing for themselves that this man is showing a new way of life. And it's such a blessing to have him for 90 years.
So, Mr. Mr. P says he can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, can you, Mr. Okay, praise God.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, to have this man for 90 years.
And just to be clear, literally 68 years of those 90 years he's been teaching from from 1955.
Yes.
1955. Bear in mind how old some of us are, okay?
No, well, I'm not in.
Well, yeah, you're forget the little youngsters
yes.
of my wife's age.
Yes.
But the point I'm trying to make is just imagine 68 years, 69 years really of teaching and guiding humanity.
That's right.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it is. It is. The minister taught me how to give birth to a God. He taught me how to eat to live.
You might have to go into that a little bit in terms of what you've been able to do as a woman giving birth.
As a woman, yes, give birth with no midwife, no pain relief, at home.
Wow.
Go to the dentist, no pain relief. That's all from Mr. Louis Farrakhan.
Stop.
You know, how to eat to live, to fast.
Yeah.
You know, I still like eating now, but
Let's go back to that dentist thing though, because that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, because I always believe you're worse off taking that injection.
Yeah.
Your mouth.
My wife has been on the dentist drill with no anesthetic.
No, but they trick us because they say it will hurt.
Yes.
So if somebody tells you it's going to hurt, I'll just give it to me.
Yes.
So if you just
and it hurts anyway, even with the injection. Yeah. The injection hurts.
Yeah, the injection.
And then you're absolutely in agony anyway.
Yes, you still feel it.
Yeah.
So why not suffer for 5 minutes? And then you walk out and your mouth is fine, rather than your lip is hanging down. Yeah, you got to try.
No, I understand. But I did one time.
No, you did.
Yes, I did. Yeah, and it was fine. It was fine.
Exactly. But I'm not saying the minister taught me, don't take anesthetic for anything. Mm-hmm. He taught me to tap into the God within, and this is what the key is.
But what he also taught, though, he's taught that we don't need all these drugs.
No, we don't.
We really don't need these drugs.
Any drugs. We don't have a medicine cabinet.
And remember, when the founder of the Nation of Islam, Master Farrakhan Muhammad, when he arrived in that area of Detroit in America called Black Bottom, which is the place that he went to in order to start this process. One of the things that we are taught is that one of the first things he did when he went into the homes of the black people was he went into their bathroom and went into their medicine cabinet and dumped everything into the bin, dumped everything into the trash can, I think you say in the States.
Yes.
Because there is no medicine as such in today's world that's about curing anything.
That's right.
More often than not, the medicine is the cause of most of the ills.
That's right.
Or you take the medicine, then you've got to take another medicine to correct the side effects or the fallout from that medicine.
That's right.
And there is no greater medicine, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, than fasting.
Yeah, and your food.
And
what you eat.
The ancient Africans, the ancient original people, when you go back to Egypt and those Kemetan geniuses like Imhotep, they said, let your food be your medicine.
That's right.
And we're taught the same thing today in how to eat to live. That the kitchen is a laboratory. That's the chemistry. That's the area.
Lab.
That's the scientific lab for health.
That's right.
Your kitchen. Think about that.
You know, if you ever have toothache, chop up a piece of garlic. It's an antibiotic. Stick it where the pain is, and you'll see. Clove oil. There's all natural things. Instead, we've been taught by this world, buy this, take this tablet,
the medication, that medication,
Gaviscon, these silly things for when you have
for your upset stomach. Yes,
boil some ginger, drink ginger, and it helps with your stomach. So all the foods are there, but we're taught by this world. Because this world is run on business. It's business on their health.
But also, though, I hear you and I agree with you. But just also another consideration. I was watching that beautiful interview with our brother in Barbados, brother Abdul Rahman.
Yes, sir.
And the brother who was interviewing him, I think he goes by the name Emmanuel. He confessed that he's a farmer.
Okay.
And whenever we talk about food, this is the thing that always comes into my mind now. You know, how important it is, because part of what we've been learning in the nation is how the food has been degraded.
Yes.
So, for instance, what we're taught is that, say, a carrot, a 1950s carrot,
it's not the same.
A 23 carrot hasn't got the nutrition in it that the 1950 carrot had, because of all of the degradation of the soil, the denaturing, the pesticides, all of these things that the genetic modification of the food. So this is the problem that we got, which is why we have to go back to the husbandry of our own food.
That's right.
You know, we gotta get back to that soil. We gotta, and this is, I think this is why the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said over and over again, we've got to have some of this land that we can call our own.
Right. Yes, because you need to grow your own food. Imagine, it's so annoying. You cut an apple, there's no seeds.
Wow.
You cut an orange, there's no seeds. Even bananas, they don't.
There's supposed to be seeds in there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be seeds. Can we see if there's any question from anyone? Because I do want to deal with your questions. We are tonight talking about 90 years young. We are talking about this wonderful human being, the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We do not apologize for talking about him and how much we love him and what a savior he has been in our lives, because, as I said before, everything that we have today, we got it in one form or another from another human being. So why would we not celebrate and talk about a human being that we can point to and prove at no limit of time their value to us and to the larger humanity, to humankind, so to speak? Why would we not do that? Why would we want to pretend that, I don't need no man, I don't need no teacher, I don't need no leader, I don't need no guide, when we are forever being led, taught and guided, mostly misguidance, miseducation. You understand what I'm saying? Misleadership. And so, the fact that we can identify a good, wholesome, beautiful human being. And man, I'm telling you, family, how do people access the Final Call newspaper? Because they can get an online.
Just go on to Final Call.
So go on to finalcall.com, is it?
Yes, it's an app. Yeah, and you subscribe to it. Yeah.
Take out a subscription with the Final Call newspaper. It's a Final Call newspaper.
£3.
Is it £3 or $3?
$3.99. No, £3.
£3.
Finance. I don't
£3 per what?
Per month.
Okay, look at that.
Yeah,
£3. £3 per month for
a subscription.
Pure, unadulterated truth in a newspaper.
That's right.
Do we appreciate what we're getting in the mail? The so-called Daily Mail? Do we appreciate what we're getting in the Telegraph? Do we appreciate what we're getting in the Mirror or the Sun? I don't even know if these papers still exist. But I can assure you, dear family, we're not getting the truth. We're certainly not getting anything that's unadulterated. But in the Final Call, you get such beautiful truth from around the world. It's not just about religion. It deals with the politics. It deals with the social norms and the problems and the wars and the rumors of wars and all the things that are currently going on, the financial markets and so on and so forth. It looks at the governments and what's happening. And in the final call, this particular issue, the beautiful talk that was given to us last Thursday from the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to those of us who were in attendance at this wonderful banquet, at this wonderful gathering of the believers in the Nation of Islam from all over the country and the European region. And this was hosted by the regional minister, European representative of the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Brother Abdul Hakim Mohammed. And it was absolutely beautiful, dear family. We had such a beautiful time, such a wonderful time. And the message that the minister gave to us, which was just full, overflowing with love and encouragement towards our forward motion and our unity. That message has been captured in the Final Call newspaper, and it'd be great if you could get a copy just so that you could read that message, because it's a message to us in the European region, in Britain and Europe, in the Nation of Islam, but it's also to the wider black community, giving us guidance because of the troubled times.
That's right.
In which we live.
Because the main message was that we have God in all of us.
Absolutely.
And to look for God in each other.
Yeah.
Because God is present in all of us.
Yeah, I mean...
And our gifts.
Wasn't that profound and beautiful where the minister went with that?
That's right.
You know, talking about the God within and how there's been so much rubbish that's been heaped upon us, and how you may see a particular spirit or attitude be manifest from a brother or a sister, but don't stop there. Don't stay at that manifestation. Dig beneath that. Go a bit deeper. Look again at your brother and sister and keep plumbing the depth of yourself and those that you come into contact with, because underneath all of it is God.
That's right. Now come on, think about it. Who's been our teacher for all these years?
Yeah.
Who's been our teacher?
What, you're talking about the enemy?
Yeah, the enemy.
What we've
been taught. Lying, stealing and murder.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, think about some of the things that we see being made manifest by black people today. You know, it's it hasn't just materialized from nowhere.
Yes.
If you're under such a teacher, if you're under such a system, then what is it that you're going to manifest? What are we going to be showing? And what always strikes me is how certain things today are called black culture.
Yes.
I mean, even something as ridiculous as eating fried chicken. You know, these things are like, they're synonymous with black people. Oh, we eat fried chicken.
Yes.
Kentucky and all of this stuff. When? How? How did that become black culture? That's not black culture, dear family. You know, these foods that came out of our enslavement. Because even to this day, I think some of us are still eating the chicken foot. I mean, think.
What is it? Cornbread. What's it?
Yeah. Well, in America, what do they call it? Cornbread.
Yeah, cornbread.
But over here we call cornmeal. It's cornmeal. It's all the cornmeal stuff, which is very coarse on the stomach, on the digestive processes, and so you know, the messenger said we don't eat that. We shouldn't eat that.
Collard greens, isn't it?
Yeah, those really tough, tough greens, collard greens. These things which we eat today, we eat in the Caribbean, cold foot, pig's trotters. That's pig's feet.
What's that they have in funerals? Manish water.
I don't even know what goes into that.
It's a whole mixture.
Boiled up stuff, and then they drink the water.
Yeah, they have it. Yeah.
But there's so many things, dear family, that are regarded today as black culture. It's that, like, this is our food, and even a lot of that, they call that soul food in some parts of the States. It's soul food, but that's not food for your soul, dear family. How we come to eat most of the things that we're eating today, these are the scraps that the slave master, these are the ends, the waste parts of the creature, of the animal. So we still eat tripe. That's the intestines of the pig, or you know. But we still eat these things now to this day, and we don't trace the origin of why we do these things. I think I may have mentioned this before one time on the Image of Nation show, but I'm going to say it again because I was in the Gambia one time, and I saw there was a little girl. There was a few of us standing around talking, but there was this little girl in the corner, and she looked really, really sad, and she even looked like she was in pain. She looked very, very ill at ease, discomforted. And eventually I just couldn't take it anymore. I just had to ask the question, you know, what's going on with the child, you know? And then it was revealed to me that she had just been circumcised. You know, honestly, man, circumcision. You know, this female genital mutilation. And I asked the question, why? Some of the elders that was there, and nobody could say why. They said it was traditional, and I said, but why? What's the tradition? Where did it come from? And I asked the question several times, and with all the explanations that I was given, there was no explanation other than the fact that this is just something that's been done traditionally, and the women are doing it to the girls, to the children. And I said, my God. See, that scripture, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, is very deep, dear family. Because we will do so many things now based on tradition, but we don't know why we're doing them. Again, I'm looking at these young brothers, well, not all young, some of them big old men, walking around now with their trousers down. Maybe they may be wearing like 3 different pairs of trousers, and they're all hanging down to varying degrees. What they call in the States, again in some parts, sagging. And not necessarily appreciating again the origin of this type of look from the prisons, because they take your belt away because in case you're going to commit suicide or whatever. And then the alpha males in the prison, who are the dominant men, how they will sodomize the young inmates and treat them like they are their girlfriends or whatever. And then they would require them to be ever ready, so don't have no belt or nothing like that. Don't be in a position where you can do your trousers up properly. Just be there like my sex slave. And then you got our young people running around on the street,
doing the same thing,
looking like that. And you know, the next time you see somebody like that on the street, dear family, I want you to really have a close look. I mean, never look, just look at that image of a young black, forget about the white ones, because they've got some white ones doing it as well. Everybody follows fashion now. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about our people who do that, and it's predominantly us who are walking around, young people with their trousers around their thigh area. Okay, some of them even got a belt, but it's meant to keep their trousers at that position. Then you got some of them pulling it up. It's like those. Remember when the trend came out with the tight lycra type skirts?
Oh, yes,
and then the women, they're walking, and every minute they're pulling it down because it's riding up.
Yes.
But why would you wear that in the first place? If it's so uncomfortable that you have to keep, because it's going to expose your private parts to the public, why would you go out constantly having to pull something down?
So uncomfortable.
Or now these brothers are walking like they look like penguins. They got to set their feet in a particular way, set their legs to walk, and I think they've even done some scientific surveys on it where they're saying that it's affecting their reproduction abilities. Yeah, beloved, because it's so unnatural what we do. But the next time you see somebody like this, have a good look, because the only thing I actually relate it to like a baby with a nappy that's full. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like a baby with a full nappy. You know that look? But this is a grown adult walking the streets like that, and they've been convinced that this looks good.
But we've been taught better now to dress civilized.
Yeah, and you know, I was in the I went to the House of Commons yesterday for a Windrush meeting. I wasn't dressed in my suit.
Because you was on the bike.
I was on a motorcycle, so I wasn't able to wear my normal dress. But there was a brother with me who was looking after me, basically acting in a capacity of security. He was in his suit. But the respect that we are shown as a people when we dress in a way that shows our enemies and the former slave masters and their children that we are not your inferiors.
That's right.
Okay? And, you know, dear family, we have to also get out of this thing where we only put on a suit and a tie when we're going to court. when we're in trouble, when something happens and we find ourselves being summoned to go before the magistrate or the judge or whatever, and then we put on some ill-fitting suit.
Yes.
And guess what? Everyone in that courtroom knows that you're not a suit wearer.
Yeah, just by the way you are.
Everyone can tell that this is probably the first time that you've put on this garment. And why have you put it on? Because now you're going to try to fool them into thinking that you are other than who they are accusing you of being. Does that make sense? You've put it on for an impression. To try to. They're not going to treat you in the manner that you think they're going to treat you, because they can see that you've dressed up particularly. So you have to be comfortable wearing that suit. It's a business suit. It means that you're busy. It means that you're about business. It means that you're serious and sober-minded. You know, even and I'm talking about our greats, and I'm not really talking about some of these so-called leaders who selling us cheaply to other people around the world. But I'm talking about whether it was Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, whether it is the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. It doesn't matter. You see them with the suit or even a military uniform. There's a reason why we wear a military uniform in the Nation of Islam, because we are militant. We're army. We're soldiers. Not your regular army running up and down with firearms and murdering people. No, we're soldiers for righteousness. We're soldiers for God. Have you ever heard of the Salvation Army? We're the real Salvation Army. That's who we are, dear family. We're here as saviors for ourselves and the masses of our people. Somebody said, Brother Leo, them call it fashion. Yeah. My goodness. Can you imagine? Any questions there, Sister Claudia?
DJ Mr. P said this was in the email.
Says the answer is control. Tradition is an excuse, and the women may inflict pain on young sisters because they had pain inflicted on them. It's not good, and I don't agree with female genital mutilation. Yeah, I mean, to some degree, I think there's some element of that, but I also heard that it's there's been an indoctrination whereby men can seek pleasure. You know, we live in a world where they say it's a man's world. This is what they say, right? And women generally in this world take a second place.
Yeah.
Women are behind. Women are not regarded with the same degree of respect, honor, even though without the women there'll be no men.
That's right.
But nonetheless, we live in a world where men are celebrated. I think if men, when there's a young man and he's coming of age, they talk about him going out and sowing his seeds. Basically going out and playing the field to some degree. It's expected.
When he's coming of age.
When he's coming of age. When he's coming of age.
Start young doing that.
Yeah, as they're growing up, it's not really frowned upon. But with women, it's looked at in a completely different light. And I've been told, and I've seen in my studies, that it would appear that a part of this phenomena is this thing about women shouldn't, because she's been labeled as a temptress. She's been labeled as Eve, who tempted Adam with the apple. She's been handed this poison chalice as the seductress. And so a part of it, I've been told, is to eliminate that pleasure center, that clitoris, that area from the female, so that she's not supposed to enjoy sexual relations. She's only supposed to endure sexual relations. The pleasure part of it is reserved for the man. She's just to be used as a vessel for that act, but not necessarily to take pleasure from it. There's some sick stuff.
Yes.
But that is one explanation that I've been given as to why that's done to the girls. Go ahead.
Well, I will say, thank God for the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah. Thank God for the Honourable Elijah Muhammad and the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, because they set the woman free. They
Yes.
really elevate.
Yeah, you should talk on that, sister, because a lot of people think that the women in Islam, maybe even in the Nation of Islam, are oppressed.
Oh no, no way. No, not at all. You are elevated. You are treated with so much respect. So much respect. That if you have a listen to the minister's tapes of how he actually treats his wife, and there's lots of tapes on male and female relationships, of how we're supposed to be, our roles. The man has a role, the woman has a role. We're not taught this.
Yeah, that's a very important point, though. See, you'd be surprised how many people today, Sister Claudia, who roll.
Yeah, I do what I want.
Yeah, I mean...
there's a science.
Right, exactly. There's a science to relationships.
That's right.
But how many people even acknowledge anything like that now? We don't understand that there's a female role.
That's right.
And there's a male role.
That's right.
And when we are not playing those roles in relationship, it creates absolute mayhem. It creates a lot of problems.
It does.
And today, most brothers, we're acting outside of our role, and the sisters are acting outside of their role. And then we wonder why. I was talking to a Muslim woman today who's completely covered.
Yes.
She, from the Orthodox world of Islam. Are they Pakistanis?
Yes, Pakistanis.
I was talking to one of those women today. I couldn't see what she looked like or anything like that. But we was having a conversation and talking about male-female relationships and talking about so-called arranged marriages.
That's right.
And I was asking the question, well, if it's not arranged, what is it?
That's right.
Just think about that, because you hear about arranged marriages and it's got such a bad name. Yeah, because it's some old man of 35 or 56, and he's going to now be given to a 12-year-old or an 18-year-old girl who they've never seen each other. I wouldn't doubt that something like that happens in certain parts of this world, because some people are sick. And I want you to hear what I'm saying. That is sick. But what an arranged marriage really is, it's just something that's arranged between families.
That's right.
Imagine
the families, isn't it?
I'm Mr. P. I'm your friend, right? We've known each other for years. You've got this beautiful son. I've got this beautiful daughter. And we're watching them grow. We meet from time to time. We go to the park together. We belong to a social club that we go to. We often have dinner. The families come together. And we see, you see your son, gravitating towards my daughter. I'm looking at my daughter. She's gravitating towards your son. Look, man. One, we're going to make sure that they don't end up behind some garden shed somewhere, or that they don't, fall down on each other when nobody's looking. But that relationship, in its potential, we might want to encourage that, chaperoning it to the point where until they're ready for, them to be able to take responsibility for having a relationship. But then as families, we get together.
That's right.
And we say, yeah, this is a beautiful match. But because we know each other. You see, this is what arranging something is all about, whereby now, your daughter hasn't gone off and met some complete stranger with psychopathic tendencies in the family, and we don't know nothing about it because it's a private relationship. See, this is where we get into trouble, man. And then next thing, your child is getting slapped around in private.
Yes, in private.
She can't tell you nothing about it because it's a private relationship. Yes. No, when you get married, do you understand? Do we appreciate that it's one family marrying another family?
That's right.
And that's how we safeguard and look after. And then in our marriage ceremony, one of the things that said is help them to make up, not break up. But imagine if complete strangers are just meeting, ships in the night.
Remember that some families, they meet at the actual wedding.
Wow, meeting for the first time at the wedding.
Yeah, the parents.
Well, I can understand if maybe some of them are in Pakistan, some of them are abroad, and but the immediate family members, imagine.
There must be communication.
Yeah, come on, man.
And this is all what we're taught in the teaching.
Yes, this is what the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan has acquainted us with, myself and Sister Claudia. We've been blessed now to have been married for 22 years now? 22 years, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And
it has its ups and downs.
Of course it's got its ups and downs.
Because of the teachings.
Of course it's got its ups and downs. Let me tell you something, family. There is no such thing as a marriage that does not have to weather storms.
That's right.
I just want you to think about that. Okay? And in fact, it's because you're able to weather storms and come through the storm and come back into calm seas and calm waters.
Yes.
That's when you know that you've got a successful marriage. But don't think that you only have one storm on a voyage.
That's right.
There may be several.
Yes.
But the idea is to get through the storm together and stay together, not become separated from the ship.
Right.
Shipwrecked on some desert island by yourself. No, dear family, it's a wonderful thing when we appreciate the struggle.
That's right.
In a relationship, and how important it is to recognize that, because I think a lot of people now maybe get together and they expect it to be Hollywood, isn't it? A bed of roses, and as soon as something goes wrong,
passion of marriage, then, isn't it? One goes one way, They, instead of working it out, the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, if you can get through the
first 3 years. First 3 years. It's the first 3 years of the marriage are the toughest.
Oh, they're very trying.
Yeah. Because you're getting to know a complete stranger.
That's right.
And I mean, imagine, before you got with that person, I'm talking about those of us who were mature adults, maybe we've had girlfriends and boyfriends, we've had previous relationships, because that's the way of this world. And so imagine you're meeting somebody who's in their mid-20s or even 30s, and now you're going to form a relationship with them, but you've both been living as separate entities for all of these years, and you've had different relationships and you've different experiences, whatever. How foolish would it be for two people to enter into a relationship of that nature and think that, oh, I know you?
Yes. You don't.
You know,
you barely know yourself.
Come on, man. You got to be so patient.
Right. Say that word again. Patient.
You've got to be so patient. And I heard one of our great fireball teachers in the Nation of Islam many years ago say these words, and again it's something I may have repeated, because I like to repeat what other people have said if it's good and wholesome. But you know, he said, if the man wins the argument in the marriage loses. And he said, if the woman wins the argument in the marriage loses. So those of us who enter into marriage and then we have these disputes and these arguments, and the whole aim and objective of the woman or of the man is to win the argument. In other words, to crush the other one, to show, you see, I was right. You're
That's what I say silently. Because it's usually the case.
Yeah, say it. Well, say it silently, beloved, but don't put it in the other person's.
I told you that 2 years ago.
Don't put it in the other person's face, because it's a recipe for disaster. In marriage, you got to be looking to see how you can compromise.
That's right. How
you can step into the other person's shoe. As a man, you got to get those big old crusty feet of yours into her little dainty shoes. Let's hope that's the way. Let's hope that's the actual sizing, okay? Into her little shoes, and then she's got to put her little dainty feet into your big old oversized shoes. Step into each other's shoes. Just try and see it from the other person's point of view, and that way you can reach a compromise. It doesn't mean that it's your view. That's their view, that's her view, that's my view, but try and just see it, because again, you know, Sister Claudia mentioned that we've got roles, but we've also got different outlooks and different personalities.
Totally.
The male and the female are not the same.
Not the same.
We see things literally very different.
But we're to complement.
Yeah, we complement one another. That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But we actually do see things different. See, dear family, we are celebrating the life of the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is 90 years young. 90 years young. And again, the reason why we're able to talk like this is because we have a teacher and a leader and a guide like this.
Well, I think it's interesting, Sister JJ's point. Some people can't help their behaviours in relationships. But you see, this is what we've been taught.
That we can't help it.
Yeah, no, by the world, in the world. But now coming into the nation, we've been taught how to behave, how to relate to each other. Because a lot of us, when we were growing up, we saw how our parents, I know how I saw my dad, my mother speak to my dad, and how my dad responded. So I learnt also through the teachings, okay, that doesn't work to shout. Let me just speak sweet. And then that keeps the peace. There's a science behind everything of how we speak. But sometimes, it slips out. And bit of the world comes out.
Bit of the world creeps in.
Yes, but we have been taught how to respond to each other, how you're supposed to treat each other. Everything. We've been taught everything. There's no excuses for us today. You have to keep God the center of your relationship.
I mean, I think what you're saying is we will disagree.
Yes.
But there's no excuse to be disagreeable.
Yes. And we shouldn't be disrespectful to each other.
Yeah. But let's pick up on the point made by JJ, because I think it's a very kind of tricky point. She says some people can't help their behaviors in relationships. Well, to be honest with you, that kind of spells of people who are out of control. Yeah. See, if we can't even do you know that there's even a notion, some people say, oh, you can't help who you fall in love with. Beloved, see, what are we taught about emotions and how we've got to be on top of our emotions?
Yes.
Because if we are led by emotions, then that can lead us into very, very choppy waters.
That's right.
Very dangerous places. You know, we have to, dear family, be much more in charge of our behavior. You know, this is again why this notion of discipline and indiscipline, you know, this even the word discipline is where you get the word disciple from. And when you are a disciple of a great teacher, the 12 disciples around Jesus, they were taught by him, they were guided by him, they were, you know, they modeled their life on this highly disciplined individual. Hence, they were disciples. Now, again, dear family, as I began by saying, you know, which of us can claim to have not been taught by somebody? Either we were raised by our parents, or we were raised by the streets, or we was raised by some militant criminals in the street, whatever. But we've been influenced in our lives. And what I'm saying is, with the lack of good leadership and guidance, then we can say, yeah, I can't help what I'm doing. It's like it's like smoking and saying I can't help it. It's like eating every donut that you see and say I can't help it, but you can.
Yes, you can.
You can. You can help your behavior. You can help everything. You have the power, you have the ability to be able to rein in and control yourself. Never let anybody tell you that you can't. You really can. I know what sister's saying, that people can't help it because they're out of control. But you've got to take back control. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, but it's like, if you want to see what somebody's household is like, just study their children when they're young, the children. Because children act out what they see in their homes. And if you see children on the street, young children, and they're screaming on the road, they throw themselves out on the street, and the mum says, oh, come on. She's not dealt with that. So then that's where it creeps in, where people, their behaviour is not changing because it's not being corrected.
It's not controlled.
It's not being, they've been allowed to scream their head off. Oh, they'll calm down. They've just been left. So then that's why you get, when you're an adult, you think it's okay to be screaming like that. Oh, you're going to throw yourself down. You're going to start slamming doors.
If you don't get your own way.
Yes. It's because we've been allowed certain things. So that's why it's so key. How to give birth to a God. How to be in male and female relationships. Because these things, whatever that mother goes through in that 9 months, that child has recorded everything.
Yes, it's all recorded
recorded
in the cells.
So when that baby is born now, it doesn't know why it does particular things because it's been put in them from birth.
Yeah, and you know, this is such a beautiful subject because again, listen, imagine.
And who's it from then?
You're taught. Well, this is from the teachings of the Most Honourable Elijah Muhammad, as taught and exemplified by the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Right. Listen to the language. I mean, because I know this is what the sisters in the nation are taught. How to act at home and abroad. Think about that. That's right. Think about all the people who go abroad and they just start drinking and getting drunk and being all crazy. Why? Because they're abroad.
That's right.
But in the teachings in the nation, we're taught how to act at home and abroad. Right. And I can assure you, either at home or abroad, it's never about losing control and being always crazy. Composed. It's always about decorum.
That's right.
It's always about respect.
That's right.
Again, in everything we're taught, it's how. So we're taught mixed feelings and controversy.
How?
But then the question is, how do you handle it? Think about this. Mixed feelings and controversy.
Yes.
But how do you handle it? This is one of our lessons. See, because it's not like you can go through this life and not experience mixed feelings.
That's right, of course.
Or some type of controversy. Yeah. Controverse. So you've got this narrative that maybe everybody lives by. But then if you come and you go against that narrative, that's a controverse. Okay, so you're always going to have things in life that you disagree with, that don't sit well with you. So that's a controversy. That's a mixed feelings. Literally something as simple as you're about to cross the road and you're not sure whether you should go after the red car or before the red car. It's a mixed feeling. But the question is, how do you handle it? Do you just close your eyes and run out in front of the red car? Or do you say, hold on a minute, just patience, let the car go past, have another look, okay, now it's safe and cross the road. See, it's the how is about your taking control and not being so emotional, so out of control that now you make a decision that's just going to get you knocked over, going to get you killed because you were in two minds, but you didn't allow yourself to get into one mind. You acted while you were still in two minds. We blurt things out. A thought comes into our head, and then so sister says some people can't help their behavior in relationships. Because we're just blurting. We're just emotional. There's a person that I plan to have a deep, meaningful conversation, inshallah, soon with. But I know that when I go to sit down with this sister, the chances are that no sooner do I broach the subject that I want to talk to her about, that she's going to possibly become defensive. This is a problem when we are so emotional about things that we can't hear the other person out, and it doesn't lend itself to a resolution of a problem or anything if we are constantly on the defensive in our life.
And that's one of the beauties of the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, how he listens. He really listens to what you're saying. He's just, when you speak to him, he's weighing every word.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
But the point is that we should all be like that. And I don't want anyone to get the impression here that we're saying, Minister Farrakhan, he's so perfect. No, we're talking about him in how he's trying to teach us to be.
Yes. Because he wasn't like that.
Yeah, the minister is not trying to get us to worship him as the perfect man. The minister is saying, look at my life and pattern yourself, model yourself, so that you too
That's right.
can get to 90.
That's right.
That you too can be successful, that you too can have courage, that you too can stand against the wiles of Satan, that you too. How long has the minister been married? He was 22.
Yes.
Somebody in the chat, work it out, please. Minister was married at age 22. He's now 90 years old. It's very simple maths.
Go on then,
Just see it. No, I'm just seeing if anybody's listening.
Okay. Sister JJ said intelligence and lack of intelligence has a lot to do with discipline and behaviours. People who are defensive never admit to be defensive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, intelligence. Intel.
Yes.
It's an internal faculty. Intelligence implies that there is an internal being, you know. Intuition, there's an inner tutor, there's an inner teacher. This is all in recognition, dear family, of the God within.
That's right.
We're taught in the Nation of Islam to look to the God within self.
Yeah.
But again, if we don't look deep enough and appreciate the God in ourselves, then we think, well, I've got no control.
Yes.
I'm just this worthless Negro, they used to call us. Some of us today still calling each other niggers.
Yes.
Imagine, a nigger. Some of us, we're now, that's my dog. I mean, think about the language. Because even our expressions, and by the way, I'm going to say this, so I know I'm going to upset some people. But you know, dear family, I'm one of these observers, you know. I do look at people, I do watch us. And when I see all these piercings, and we've got these nose rings, and everywhere you look, we've got 6 things going through our ears, and the belly button is pierced,
Tongue.
they're piercing the tongue, the clitoris is pierced, the penis is pierced. I mean, we again, it's another form of mutilation.
Yes.
But
we say it's fashion.
Yeah, it's fashion, but we think that we're adding something to ourselves, not realizing that we're actually detracting and taking away. See, because God didn't make a mistake when He made us. And believe it or not, you've been made perfect.
That's right.
You are perfect. See, that tattoo, I had to say to one of my children, I said to one of my children, I said, I love you. I don't love your tattoos. Because I'm just one of these parents. I'm going to be completely honest with my children. I'm not going to try to be their best friend. I'm not going to try to curry favor, you know, to be the modern man, the modern father or whatever who sees all of this and oh yeah, I love it. No, I know that's nothing added. If anything, that's taken away. Because imagine the day comes when you've got a particular thing that you want to do, and now maybe you've got to be putting makeup to hide your tattoo, or worse, you're having to have some kind of laser surgery to burn it off or whatever. Because things that we do when we're 18, 19, 20 or whatever, believe me, dear family, when you get to 40, 50, 55, 60, whatever, you're a completely different being. You're a completely different person. And, you know, again, patience will allow you to realize that what you've been given, what you have is just so beautiful.
Yes.
So powerful that you don't have to permanently paint it.
You just got to maintain it.
That's the key.
Yes, you have to maintain.
What about the maintenance of it?
That's right.
And enhancing it by exercise,
eating right, thinking right.
My God. But the trends come, don't they?
Yes.
Now everybody's got to have a whole arm tattooed. Or a whole leg tattooed, and then tattooed faces, their tattoos in private places, which then you've got to expose to the public if you want anybody to see the tattoo. My God, dear family.
Ad break.
No, we're not going to have any. No. Okay. Dear family, I pray that you are all good. I hope you are enjoying myself and Sister Claudia, just having a little conversation, a little fireside chat with you today. I've said if you do have a point or a question, feel free to put it in the chat, and we will try to respond if we can to your point.
And it's 68 years of marriage, I said.
68 years. So essentially the same amount of time. Yes. That the minister has been teaching, because he came in around the same time that they got married. Isn't that wonderful?
Amazing.
68. So, Sister Claudia, me and you, we want that 68 years.
Another 50 to go.
Yeah, we got a ways to go, but
inshallah.
Yeah, you got to aim for that, man. And how wonderful if we can look back and see that you've been able to sustain and maintain a relationship, because again, it's not just about marriage.
No.
Okay, but what about your biological brother or sister? Imagine if the two of you reach 70 or 80 or 90 or 100 years, and your brother is still there, your sister is still there. Come on, isn't that a beautiful thing to be able to look at somebody that you've grown up with over all these years, and you've seen all of these changes? Go ahead, sis.
No, well, I was going to say the beauty of the dinner, the celebration of the minister's dinner, was to see. We watched old videos of brothers and sisters in the UK, and praise be to Allah, a lot of people, brothers and sisters, actually look better now. They actually look younger now than they did 20, 30 years ago.
Yes.
Which is because of how to eat to live.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, I don't think it can really be overemphasized just how you can begin to reverse the aging process. Because I listen to us, and I hear a lot of us complaining about, oh, I'm old. The language,
language alone will make you old.
Yeah, do you understand how powerful self-talk is? And if you convince yourself that you're old and decrepit and you got this pain and that pain or whatever, man, that's a downward slope.
It is.
You've got to have a different mindset. You've got to have a no limitations mindset when it comes to your health and your longevity and your outlook. My mum.
Stunning.
I must show you a picture of her one of these days soon. But my mum says somebody was talking to her one day about the menopause. I think that's when she was in her late 50s at that time. And my mum's response was, I'm not pausing for anybody.
Yes.
And my mum, on another occasion, I think when she was into her 70s, she said that she don't hang out with women over 40 because they're too old. Okay, all of her friends were young.
That's why we got on so well, myself and your mum.
You lot went to dinner, didn't you?
We get on very well.
Yes.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
But it's beautiful. You don't want a situation where you're married to a woman and there's hatred.
Yeah, but that's what this world teaches.
The mother-in-law. The mother-in-law, yeah. There's plenty of mother-in-law jokes.
That's right.
Yes. And, again, dear family, we've been taught very, very well. And we are thankful for this beautiful guidance, because, again, when I listen to our discourse, our conversation in the nation, it's very positive. It really is. We rarely waste any time really being negative. We talk about this wicked world but we talk about it in the vein that it's finished, that it's over. We're not lamenting, oh, the world, what it's doing to us, whatever. We know that it's basically imploding and unraveling, that it's done. And what we're saying to ourselves and what we're saying to you is that we've reached that stage where we have to change the narrative to one about bringing in something, about a process of renewal. We need to renew. We need to renew ourselves, but we need to renew our mindset first and foremost, and then we need to bring in a new world. And the only people who have that capability is we, the people who were crushed to the ground, the people who have been put at naught, the people who have been regarded. I think there's a scripture that says, we are the stone that the builders rejected. Because that's the stone that becomes the head of a brand new world order. And dear family, you know, again, I make no apologies for the teachings where we are to become the head. But not an arrogant head, not a head that's going to be like the old heads that ruled through tyranny and oppression, where in order for you to be the head, somebody's got to be the tail. No, dear family. Yeah. You know, and I don't know what people think when I muse the way I do, but again, I really make no apologies, because I observe the world from a wide lens, and I'm listening to people like Vladimir Putin, who is talking about a multipolar world, not a unipolar world where America has this hegemony where she's got to be on top of everybody else, and if you don't do what America and Britain and the so-called West wants you to do, then they can punish you as a nation, a sovereign nation. They can sanction you and force you to bow to their will. Well, what Putin is saying is, no, this is wrong. It's wrong that you have one so-called superpower who wants to impose its will on everybody else on the planet. And I'm not making this up. This is what they've been doing. Okay, this is why they could go into Iraq and destroy that nation and kill its leader. This is why they could go into Libya and destroy that nation and kill its leader. This is why they could go into Syria, and still now they're in Syria, occupying parts of the Syrian nation against the Syrian people's will. And they've tried to assassinate Assad, the leader in that country, and tried to destroy his government. And Afghanistan and what they did there, and occupied that place for over 20 years, and on and on and on. And there's countless wars that these people have fomented, coups that they've fomented all over the planet as this unipolar power that is a law unto itself. Now, so what Putin is saying is that, no, we're heading now towards a multipolar world where sovereignty actually means something, where every nation is able to actually exercise its rights as a sovereign nation. And I don't see no problem with that. I love that idea. I think that's a better way to go. But understand this, you know, those who have had hegemony, those who have had that kind of control, they're not going to go quietly. And so this is why right now we're heading towards, and we're already in it already, a third world war and possibly nuclear conflict. Dear family, as we close, I want to say that we may not be antagonist or protagonist in this warfare that's taking place, but our God is a real God, And our God has power over all of the forces on this planet. And our God teaches us freedom, justice, and equality, regardless to creed or class or color, which is a multipolar reality. And so I'm saying, dear family, it's time for us to choose sides, to make up our minds, and to understand who the real enemy is. And they may talk democracy, but where is the democracy? And I say this in my closing. The Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the best friend of humanity. He's the best friend of black people, but guess what? He's the best friend of white people as well. Why? Because he tells them the truth.
That's right.
These so-called Jews who want to call him an anti-Semite and a racist and a bigot, he's your best friend too.
Right.
Because he tells you the truth. And I'm saying, you see, the British government, they could never convince me of any democracy until that unjust ban on the minister is lifted. When you lift that ban and allow this man of God,
He just speaks true.
yeah, they've got this unofficial anthem. They've got a national anthem, which is really the unofficial, because the God Save the King or God Save the Queen is the official national anthem of Great Britain. But they have got another anthem, and it's called Jerusalem. And I would encourage all of you to Google that and have a listen to it, because some of the lyrics in that says, "And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's land?" And it's talking about Jesus, the Christ. And I say this, Jesus walks. He's walking right now. And his feet need to touch this soil. If you are to be given an opportunity and a chance to humble yourself and submit to the Almighty God before it's too late. I'm talking to Britain, talking to the United Kingdom, talking to the people of this land, and I'm talking to the world. I'm just a little brother Leo Muhammad. Who am I? Nothing. But I know that there is a God and that his hand is over everything. Real live man, powerful man. And we're going to talk about the wheel in the coming weeks as well. We're going to remind people of the power of the God in the universe. And I say to you, dear family, like, share, subscribe to the Imagination Show. Yes, we have our little problems and our glitches, but bear with us. We're going to overcome these, and we're going to have a beautiful show, inshallah. And we will share with you really powerful things and powerful truths that will help you. Each show will be a call to action. Each show will be a call to self-improvement. Each show will be, from our desire, a process of re-erection, resurrection, standing up, empowerment, giving you the ability to envisage in your mind, to see something that you can bring into reality. Image a whole nation. Image a nation. And so, dear family, thank you once again for, spending this time with us on this number 80 Imagination Show entitled, can you remember the title? 90 years young. I was trying to take 10 years off the minister. 90 years young.
Right.
Thank you, dear family. I'm going to go over to Sister Claudia.
Just to say, quickly going back, Raj, thank you for your comment. Good evening, he says, or she.
Do we know where anybody is from?
No. Yes, we do. Good evening. Royal families around the world and rich elite families all have arranged marriages. They do not leave things.
They don't do random.
Yes,
they don't do random.
And GOP made it to 63 without an arm, pop gun as my God. Praise Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and we thank DC Precise, DJ Mr. P, Sister Paulette, Sister JJ, Annabelle Rass, Pan-African Hannibal. He said, much love, brother. Met you at the Million Man March anniversary and you were real there. Much respect.
Praise be to Allah.
And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Will of the Most High, for your comments. Floyd Muhammad, thank you. And GOP and all the family for tuning in. Thank you once again.
Thank you,
May
beloved
Allah
family.
continue to guide, bless, and protect you all because we need God's protection today.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
thank you all.
Look forward to seeing you all again, same time, same place next week, inshallah. 6:30 Thursday, the Imagination Show. This is your brother Leo Muhammad and sister Claudia Muhammad signing off. See you all soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.